back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing to Stylish Naija YouTube channel, for your love, for your support. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be learning how to cut and sew a three-piece yoke corset blouse. So that's what we're going to be doing. So if you notice recently, three-piece corset has really been in vogue. So today, I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew that. It is a very simple process. So these are the fabrics, the materials that I'm going to be making use of. So I have an Ankara fabric here. I'm going to be mixing it up with this fabric. This is a crepe here, and then I have lace. So I think I'm going to cover it up because it's going to have a yoke. I really don't want the yoke to be plain, so I think I'm just going to cover it up. And then I have my lining, and then all of my interfacing that I'm going to be making use of. I have my hairstay, I have my wadding, my paper gum, and then the medium gum stay. So these are all of the pieces, all the things we're going to be using. If you are new to the channel, you are highly and very welcome. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. Okay, so I'm going to make it very simple and easy for you, the way I'm going to draft this corset. I really don't like confusing tutorials if you have been following me for some time now. Okay, so what we're going to do, I already have my pattern paper here, so I'm going to explain. So we're just going to draft along. So I'm going to explain to you the first line that you are going to draft when you want to draft this kind of corset is the startup line. So this is like a startup line. Okay, so I've marked out all of our lines now. So what we're going to do now, we're going to start marking. So the first thing we're going to do, the first line we're going to, so I'll label my line. So this is my shoulder line, this is my chest line, bust point line, under bust, and then this is my half cut. So you can see all of my measurements. So from my shoulder to chest, I'm using 8 inches. My bust point is 10.5. My under bust is 13.5, and then I'm using 17 inches as my half cut. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to add our dart. So to add the dart, I'm going to be making use of half of my bust span measurement, which is nipple to nipple. So I'm going to use 4.5. My nipple to nipple is 8 inches. I'll add half of an inch to it. So this is 4.5. So I'll just go ahead, I'll mark that across all of my lines, and then I'll connect it with a straight ruler from up to down. Okay, so I've done that. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to add our dart. So for the dart, since this is a bust 36, I'm going to be making use of 1.5 inches dart. So I'll come to my under bust line like this. I'll mark 1.5 to the right, and then I'll mark the same 1.5 to the left. Okay, so after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead with my short ruler. I'll connect it to the down point like this. I'll go ahead, I'll do the same thing to this one. And then from this point, I'm going to make a curve to this point, to my bust point like this. So I'll just use my pattern curve like this, and then I'll create a beautiful curve for my cups. I'll go ahead, I'll do the same thing on this one, on this side also. So now I'm going to extend my dart to the top. So in taking the dart to the top, for the top part, I'm going to take 1 inch to the right hand side from this top point, and then 1 inch to the left. You can actually do half. You can do half one, that you can do 1 inch to the right and then half to the other side. So from this point, I'm going to take this ruler, and then I'm going to connect it straight to the bust point line. So you can see it is not a difficult process. So I'll go ahead, the same thing that I did on this side. So this one also, I'm going to go ahead and connect it. Okay, so you can see I've marked out. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure out my full shoulder measurement because it is a yoke corset. So I need this part. So I'm just going to come like this. I'll measure my shoulder, which is 14 inches. But remember, I took out one inch from this top part, which is 2 inches. So all of this, we're going to cut off there, the dart. So I'm going to add it back into my pattern. So this is 14, which is 7. I'll add my 1 inch back into it, and then I'll just add 1 inch for stitching allowance because it is a yoke. So I really don't need that excess of allowance. So from this point like this, I'll connect it to my chest line point, and then I'll mark out my armhole. So you see, it is a simple process. Like I always say, we are almost done. The next thing we're going to do now is for us to cut out our yoke. So for the yoke, depends on what you want. If you want to add like a sweetheart effect on this part, you can actually curve out your yoke the way you want. But mine, I want the yoke, I want it to be straight on the chest part, just like a tube. So if you understand what I'm trying to say, and I don't want it to be deep. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to come up from my chest line. I'm still going to come up by 1 inch. So you can do half of an inch, depends on what you want. So I'm just going to do 1 inch. So this is 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect it with a straight ruler like this, and then I'm going to cut out my yoke now. So this is our yoke. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to do our over bust tightening. So you need to tighten this part, this chest part, for it to have a beautiful effect. So what we are going to do, so for that you can use half of an inch to do that, but mine, I want to use 1 inch. I want my cups, I want them to come out to form really properly and nicely. So remember, this is my original line. So from that original line, not this ones, I'm going to place my tip like this, and then I'm going to mark 1 inch to the right hand side, and then I'll mark 1 inch to the left also. So after marking them, I'm going to go ahead, I'll use my pattern curve. I'm going to curve it into this point like this. So I'm just going to place my pattern curve properly because I want a very nice curve on the chest. So just make sure I'm curving it to the chest, to the bust point line from that chest line part. So you can see what I have. So you see the fullness of it. And then this other one also. Okay, so you can see my cups are forming really beautiful. So this part now, so with this now, I've succeeded in tightening the chest of this three-piece corset. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to form our cup to the side, to the left, and to the right. So in forming that, I'm going to come to this line, which is my, so for this part, you can actually do half of an inch. So you know that center part in our bra, how it's used to, depends on how wide you want it to be. So you are the one that will choose. So for mine, I'm going to use 0.5, which is half of an inch. So I'm just going to come to this point like this. I'll mark half of an inch. I'll mark it, and then I'll mark it up to my bust point line like this. So I'll just connect it with a straight ruler like this. So I'm just making sure that everything are accurate. So the next thing now, we're going to, from this point now, we're going to create a curve to our under bust. So this is our under bust line. So in creating the curve, so I really don't want to make use of this pattern curve. So I discovered something lately. So I'm going to make use of this one like this. So if you have this, I'm not saying you cannot not make use of that one, you can make use of it. So I really don't, I want it to form very well. So I'm just going to place, so you can see what I'm trying to do now. So you can see what I have. So you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to form the one on this side. So for the one on this side, I'm just going to use half of my bust span measurement. So for this, so I'm just going to use half of my bust span measurement on this side, which is 4.5. So I'm going to come to this part that we opened up already. I'll mark 4.5 to this right hand side on that line. I'll mark it here also. Okay, so to form the cup on this other side, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use half of my bust span measurement. So I'm going to come to this chest line like this. I'll measure the half, which is 4.5. And then on this center part, I'm going to use 5 inches. When I'm using 5 inches, you know our bust is usually fuller on this armpit side. So I'll make use of 5 inches. And then from that point, I'm just going to place my curve nicely like this. And then so now I'm going to go ahead and create my cup. So you can see my cups, they are looking so beautiful. So the next thing we're going to do now is for us to just mark out our full measurement. So it is simple. So I'm just going to come like this, and then I'm going to use my bust measurement. My bust is 36. So when you divide 36 into 4, you have 9 inches. This is 9 inches here. So I'm just going to put a dot, and then I'll come to this point. Remember our 1 inch that we took out from this part. So at the end of the, after measuring what I have here, I have about 1.5. So I'm going to return it back into my measurement. So this is the 1.5 here, and then I'm going to add my. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to take out our full body measurement. So in taking out the full body measurement, I'm going to come to this point like this. I'll measure my bust measurement, which is 36. So you divide into 4, you have 9. So this is 9 inches. I indicated that here. And remember our over bust tightening, we took out 2 inch. That's half 1 inch. So I'm going to return that back into my pattern because I don't want it to get truncated. And then I'm going to add my stitching allowance. So I'll add as much as 3 inches or 3.5 here. So from this point, I'm just going to mark that like that. And then I'll come to my under bust. So my under bust is 30, which is 7.5. So I'll mark my 7.5 here. And then I'll mark what I have here, which is 3 inches for the dart. I'll return it back. And then I'll add my normal regular stitching allowance of about. So from this point, I'll mark it like this. I'll just join it to this point. And then the next thing, I'll come to my waist line, which is my half cut. So I'll mark what I have here, 32, which is 8. And then remember your darts. I'll add it, and then I'll add my stitching allowance. So I would go ahead and then I will do this. So you see how simple it is to do. So this, I'm going to use this to cut out the back pattern. So I'm just going to explain that to you right now. Okay, so for the back piece, I'm just going to, I'm not adding any yoke to it. So I'm just going to I just use my basic block just to cut out just your basic body. So that is the fabric, and then this is the lining. So the next thing now, the only thing that is remaining now is for us to shape this cup. And in shaping it, you can shape it however you actually want. So I want mine to come to just maybe half inch above my nipple points like this. So once I mark that, and from this point, I'm just going to mark what I have here, and then I'm going to place it here also. So I want it accurate. I want it to have the same measurement. So I'll just go ahead. Okay. So from this point like this, I'm just going to, so once I come to this part here, I'm going to, I did half of an inch from here. So for this part, I'm just going to come, this center part, I'll do 1 inch. So just to give me a nice curve, just like to give me a guide, yeah. So I'm just going to blend it into this part. Also, when I take a look at it, if I feel I don't like it, I can actually do this. I'm just trying them out and see if I can take it up to this point. That's my bust point from the side, like this. And then from this one also, like this. So you see, I think I'm going to go with this one. So you see, it is a simple process. So you can blend that up with your curve. So you can see my pieces looking beautiful. So I think I like what I have. So I'm just going to go ahead now. I'm going to cut it now. So in cutting it, here's what we're going to do. We cut like this. Let's label. I almost forgot. So this is one. So I'm going to label them 1, 2, 1, 3, 4. So with that, it will be easy for me. I know that 1 and 2 is the center front, then 3 and 4 is the side. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can do this. You can write that. You can write center front, but it's okay for me. So you see how they are. So the next thing we're going to do now, these two pieces, I'm going to join them together. I'm going to join them together because we're not going to cut it separately like this. We're going to cut it as one straight piece. So you can see all of our pieces on the table. So for this top part, I just went ahead and used a transparent tape to tape it together. So you can see the front yoke, and then we have all of our piece lined out. So the next thing is for us to transfer all of these pieces into our fabric. So this one, all of this cup area, I'm going to cut out with my red fabric, and then the other part I'm going to cut out with my Ankara. So I'll just go ahead and cut all of the pieces out right now. So I'm going to stop this video here right now because I don't want it to be too long, so that the other part is going to be detailed also. So let's stop it here. The next video is going to be the sewing part of this three-piece corset. So I'm going to upload that in the next maybe 2 or 3 days time. So you can just always come back to the channel to check. It's going to be very detailed. So you're going to see all of the sewing parts. So thank you so much. If you find this video helpful, please hit on the like button. I'll see you in the next video. God bless you. Ciao.